US President Donald Trump has announced that the United States will send various pieces of very sophisticated military equipment to Ukraine, including the advanced Patriot missile defense systems. While the news has been welcomed by many in Ukraine, there is also a sense of caution as some reports suggest that the U.S. package will include offensive weapons as well. President Trump also voiced renewed frustration with Russian President Vladimir Putin, stating, in quote, "He talks nice and then he bumps everyone in the evening," end of quote. Recall that Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky confirmed last week that the United States had resumed military supplies amid a sharp increase in Russian aerial attacks across Ukrainian cities. Meanwhile, the U.S. envoy to Ukraine, Kellogg, arrived in Kyiv earlier today, embracing President Zelensky's top aide on the platform as he stepped off the train, a symbolic gesture of solidarity during a critical moment in the war. And we have a live guest here joining us from Moscow, Chairman NIDO Russian Chapter Godwin Ibe. He joins us to talk about this recent development. It's good to have you join us. We're hearing that President Trump is at the point of announcing an aggressive plan today and sending arms to Ukraine. This has long been on their wish list. There is also a sense of caution. But how massive a shift will this be if Trump agrees to send them?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me, and I'd like to thank the viewers for tuning in. It's not a shock to anybody, definitely not a shock to the Russian side. It's clear that they could dance a little bit of tango, like they want to improve relations with Russia significantly, but it's usually short term. The president usually follows the policy of the United States. The president doesn't have his own separate policy from the country, and the country, there's no general consensus on significantly improving relations with Russia, which is quite sad because before 2022, the trade from Russia, let's say even the U.S. imports from Russia, I was about 29 billion. Now it's just about 6 billion. And also the exports are reduced like 10 times. It's a loss on both sides, and something that, it makes no economic sense. But it's no surprise to the Russian side especially. And maybe as time goes on, I could tell you what I kind of anticipate going forward.
Mm-hmm. Before we get to that point, let's talk about how likely this is going to, change the trajectory of the war. From your own end, it's not so much of, a big change, but to Ukrainians, they may see this as a big deal because, based on past requests, they were rejected by the United States government. And we've seen in recent days President Trump voicing frustration with Putin, saying he talks nice and then he decides to bomb everyone in the evening. Is this likely to be an advantage for Ukraine?
The only person who has been changing his mood, his opinion and mind is the U.S. President Donald Trump. He seems like, for those who might be naive enough to believe that he's the Superman that could silence every other critic and build a strong relationship with Russia single-handedly. And saying the Minister of Defense saying they've stopped supply to Ukraine, and all of a sudden saying, yeah, well, we've resumed. They are the only ones changing their mind. Russia's policy is quite simple. It's to defend its interest, strategic and tactical interest in Ukraine, and saying that Ukraine is a no-go zone for NATO and it would allow NATO expansion in Ukraine. That has been very, very clear. And it's coming against the background of Russia gaining significantly, especially in recent days, significant territory, especially in the Pokrovsk region and even in the Kursk, in the Kharkov region. So there's been a consensus both in the Western and Eastern media that Ukraine significantly lacks air defense weapons, lacks manpower, and there's a collapse on many areas of the front. So this is not a surprise, and I don't think that anything will change. What we are likely to see is just the air defense weapons and maybe some sanctions on Russia. I can't even remember how many rounds now. I think they should use not Arabic numerals, but like Roman numerals for the sanctions, because I think they are running out of Arabic numerals. Yeah, and also if we talk about how do I call it, what the Ukrainians will feel. No, let me first of all start by saying that logistics supply is not something you just wake up and say, okay, I'm going to supply, and immediately they get it like an SMS or WhatsApp message. No, if they say they are supplying Ukraine weapons, the arrangement has been made a long time before. It has been shipped. All the logistics has been planned out. So there's no surprise to anyone. It's just they prepare news for the press and for the public so that the public can accept it or assimilate it gradually. But the plans are already in place and have been in place for a long time.
And it's shocking that when Donald Trump came into office, he was almost sure that he was going to find an end to this crisis. And now that is sort of irritated, I will say, with Vladimir Putin. He is now releasing the arms that he rejected back in June. But we'll just wait out to see how this, pans out. That's a fine place to leave the conversation for now. Thank you for talking to us, Moscow Chairman, Nido Russia Chapter, Godwin Ibe. Thank you for joining us on The World Now.
Dr. Godwin Ibe, thank you so much.
Right.